In the last video, I drove over 1,000 miles to pick up an abandoned Datsun 240Z. I'm building this car from the ground up, and that basically means I'm going to have to disassemble the car before I start building it, and that's what I'm going to be doing in today's video. I'm here at Iron Horse Classics in Wiley, Texas to start prepping this car. While I'm going to be trying to build the majority of this car myself, Iron Horse is going to be guiding me through the process of things that I'm not as experienced in, such as bodywork and metalwork. While I have done a lot on cars, whether it's building the kit car, whether it's building my Datsun 280Z or working on my Subaru BRZ, I've never actually had to do any sort of bodywork or metalwork. And so Iron Horse, since they do a lot of that, especially on classic cars, they're going to guide me through the process and show me how to do it myself. Well, I'll be doing the majority of the building. They're just going to kind of show me how to do it and then let me kind of go at it and figure it out from there. They can kind of guide me and tell me what I'm doing wrong and what I'm doing right. And that way I can actually learn to build this car myself, and I get to actually say that I built the entire car myself as well. Now, when I did pick up this car, it was mostly disassembled, but the glass is still in it and there's still some of the interior that I need to take out. The rest of the parts were already in boxes, and I went ahead and sorted through those to see what I had and what I needed to buy. After that, then I went and took off the fenders and started taking out the glass of the car. The glass was kind of sketchy because it's old glass, and I'm not entirely sure if I'm able to replace this glass with new glass or if I'd have to source old Datsun glass to put back into the car. This is one of the things that I had Iron Horse help me with, is they know what I can and can't replace typically when it comes to classic car parts, and so I had them show me how to take out this glass. Another thing that I had to take off was the doors. The doors were, technically they should be straightforward, and they were, except for the fact that I really should have used two people. Last time I did this, I had to have someone help me hold the door. I don't have that this time. So if this falls, I guess it'll make for some good content. We're good. Got the door off. I had a feeling that that might happen. Luckily I got it on camera, so. So I was alone in here because everybody was out at lunch. And of course, when everybody gets back is right when I drop the door off the car. Didn't break the glass, didn't in the door a bit, but we're gonna be doing body work on it anyway, so get myself a little more work to do, but it is what it is. You win some, you lose some, and that was kind of a loss right there. As you can see, that didn't really go as planned. I did end up kind of damaging the door, and that's just gonna be something that I have to fix later. But again, this is a learning experience, and that is one of the things I learned, is some things just you have to have two people for. Now, this car, as you can see in the video, is red. It has basically been sprayed over twice. So originally the car was silver and now it's red. And so to basically redo this car, I have to take all of the paint off. At first, what I did is I started sanding it with some pneumatic sanding discs. However, I found out that this would take hours. After I decided that sanding just wasn't really the best option, I had to make sure that everything was out of the car so that it could get sandblasted and epoxied. Basically, with sandblasting is everything has to be out of the car or else it's going to get blasted. So stuff like steering racks, any pieces of paper. One other funny thing that I found disassembling the car is what to read. It's a statement of constitutional rights, laminated, to read to a police officer in case you get pulled over. Officer, I mean no disrespect. Anything like that needs to be removed from the car so that it won't just get absolutely shredded by the sandblaster. As you can see, we've loaded it up on a trailer behind me. With me is Tim from Iron Horse Classics. Hello. Tim has been a huge help on this build. He's been letting me use his shop, his tools, and pretty much his expertise on getting this thing done. So this is Tim.
We are excited to help Grayson with this 240Z. Hopefully at SEMA it's going to be as exciting to the spectators as it is for us to build it.
We got quite a ways to go, but the sandblasting today is going to speed up that process. So let's go ahead and get it over there to get it sandblasted. We went ahead and dropped the car off for blasting. They're going to blast pretty much all of the car except for the pieces that we already know we're replacing, like the roof and the floorboard on the driver's side. That should take about a week. I still need to drop off the door, so I'll be working on that next, but we finally got that dropped off.
1 week later.
It has been a few days and the Z has finally been sandblasted and epoxied, and it just looks super, super cool. So without further ado, let me go ahead and show it to you guys. Here it is. So at first, I thought that this was gonna be a clear epoxy for some reason, but it turns out is it's black, which looks way cooler, and I actually think will make my job easier for metalwork rather than like a raw metal with a clear over it, because I'll be able to see dents and imperfections to adjust and pull. Everything we dropped off there has been coated and blasted, so we did the hatch, the doors, the fenders, the headlight housings, the whole body, pretty much everything on the car that has to do with the body was dropped off there. The only thing that we didn't blast was the roof. Because we are gonna have to be replacing this roof anyway, instead of just blasting and epoxying it and wasting that money, we went ahead and just said, we're gonna replace it, we're not gonna blast it. So overall though, it looks super, super cool. The whole thing is fully coated in this black primer. It looks way better than the red and rust kind of look it had going before we had it blasted, and I just think that this is a huge step in the right direction. After I got it sandblasted, it was also epoxied so that it wouldn't rust, and that's why the car looks black. And once it was epoxied, it looked so much better, and I could actually see what was wrong with the car. For example, before we got it sandblasted, I knew the roof and part of the rear end was damaged, but the hood looked okay before it was sandblasted. After though, I noticed there was a big dent in it, and that was something that I would have to fix. Along with that, there was a lot of areas in the interior that I noticed that had rust holes that I didn't notice before that I had to fix as well. Again, one of the things that I didn't really have experience with was bodywork, metalwork, welding, anything like that. So I had some of the guys at Iron Horse look over my shoulder while I started doing some of the rust and hole repair on the car. After I did some basic welding, I figured it was time to actually redo one of the body panels that was rusted through, that was revealed by the sandblasting. The easiest one and one of the larger ones was the door sill. The door sill had a bunch of rust through it, and I'm not entirely sure why. That might have been just from water sitting on it and slowly rusting through it. Regardless of that fact, we had to replace this piece. One of the employees, Kelly at Iron Horse, he is an amazing metal worker, so huge shout out to him. He showed me how to build a new piece and then helped me get it set in place so I could weld it in. This was a really cool experience for me because I've never really done any metal work before, and getting to take a flat piece of metal, bend it to shape, and then fit it to the car was something that I had never experienced before, and it was honestly one of my favorite things about this build so far. It's really cool getting to learn these skills from people who have mastered them through years and years of practice, and I'm getting to learn from them on my own car, which is just something that is really hard to convey how cool it actually is. After this piece was welded in, the welds were still showing, and I had to do the same thing I did for all the other welds, and that was grind them down flat. One of the things I did learn here was that it is easy to over grind and over sand. There are a couple areas that I did end up almost burning through with the grinder. Luckily, again, the guys at Iron Horse were like, hey, you should stop, it looks good. The rest will be handled by bodywork. After this piece, I decided to tackle some of the smaller pinholes that were created from the vinyl top that was installed by the dealer back in the 1970s. Another thing was the trim pieces. I'm going to be kind of deleting a lot of that factory trim. I want a very smooth look on the car, so I needed to go through and fill those holes as well. This was pretty easy. This was just kind of using the welder and filling those holes and then grinding them down flat. Now, as you can see, I'm back in my shop now, and so is the car. The car actually sat in Iron Horse for, I want to say, like a few months, and I just really didn't work on it much. And that's not really my fault, and it's not really Iron Horse's fault. It's kind of just a misalignment of schedules. Originally, I was going to do this entire build at Iron Horse, but I realized that I usually work on cars from 6 p.m. to midnight, and they work on cars when they're open, which is from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. And so those schedules didn't really line up very well, and so I decided that I should probably just bring the car back here where I have all of my tools and I can work on it in whatever time I want, and then when it's time to finish the bodywork and paint, I would take it back over there. So as you can see, the car is behind me and it is back here at the garage, and I've already started working on some of the other components that are going into this car. Now that I kind of know how to do some metalwork, I think I'm ready to attempt to do some major metalwork on this car by myself here in my own garage. So in the next video, I'm going to be doing the frame rails and the floor pans, which is going to be a whole project in itself. Alongside that, I'm also going to be working on the interior, the wiring harness, the suspension, and the engine, all here in the garage, and make videos about them after the floor pans and frame rails. Once I get the car to a semi-assembled state to where I know everything is in its place and I know everything is properly put together, then I'm gonna take the car back to Iron Horse, finish the bodywork, and paint it. While the paint is probably the coolest part, it's also one of the most expensive pieces, and I wanna make sure that everything is done and pretty much ready to go before I paint it. So this car is going to be built in its raw form basically before it ever gets painted. So that means this car is gonna look pretty rough until the very last video in this series. Be sure to subscribe down below so you guys don't miss any of the videos that we put out with this car and this entire build series. Along with that, if you guys really want to support this build, I suggest going down to the link in the description and picking up some cool Datsun t-shirts. As you can see, we got the 280Z on the back and we've got the 1978 on the front. We're also gonna be adding some more t-shirts of the Datsun 240Z and maybe even the DF Goblin. So be sure to look out for those shirts when we release those as well. But I think that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. I went ahead and had them show me how to do that so I didn't break the glass like I dropped the door.